Here a minute, Vor. Go to the viewpoint of the yellow towards the red doorway. So if you see them there, you might want to push forwards a bit. You might even just abort straight away when you're at that doorway, that end, and just try and rush through the mid doorway. Or you might want to push through and go through the basement route. So go the basement route now, Vor. If you're attacking this quad, you've seen somebody there. They know you're there, remember, but because you've gone the basement route, that changes the angle and the area they have to cover. They now have to come right into the quad room anyway. And now you are actually in kind of a dangerous position depending on their spread, especially if the rest of your team's attacking from mega, then they're going to be looking at the mega doorway, not at your angle.
Yeah, I mean, a position like this, obviously if you step out into here and there's no other distraction anywhere else, you're going to get destroyed in about a second. But if your teammates have pushed in and say one has pushed into here or up here, there's another one firing from here. Maybe the other one came in low from this route and is in this area here. Now, areas like this, as mentioned earlier, they're notoriously hard to hit. I mean, you can spam rockets down into here, but if you're going to try and hit plasma, you've got this obstacle here. If you're trying to hit shotgun, well, that's not going to go through a wall either, is it? So, now once there's a distraction in, a route in from here, even if you're in from the front, these are suddenly so much safer.
They're more viable. Obviously still dangerous, and that quad spot is always a dangerous spot to be on if you haven't cleared the room, because it's obviously a hot spot. People know you're going to go there, and they can just aim rockets at it and land it on you as soon as you grab that. In fact, often you get a lot of kills as quad gets picked up, because, for example, in the main doorway route, you might get a railer dropping down. His last 5 seconds, he's just turned up from picking up the last red, and instead of actually getting the quad, his goal is just to rail from that central corridor at the quad and just kill it. And because your team or their team or whatever has already done damage to the other people around it, it's probably going to die in one hit. So
yeah, I mean, you know where people are coming from. You can expect someone to jump, and then you can hit the shot there. You might hit them, that'll push them against a wall, and then they've got to walk along to the quad, and then there's another opportunity to hit them. A position like this, I think, is quite... If say your quad attack has failed, then you don't want to really push in from this. You want to actually try and kill the quad here, rather than just throw your life away as well.
Yeah, and then you can just back off really quickly and get that next red or whatever, get in a defensive position. So that works really effectively. Okay, so I mean, there are obviously a lot of different ways you can attack the quad, so we can't go through them all, but you got to be thinking about the split, who's got the armor, which route to take. The key
some different
ideas,
thoughts, how you need to approach it and how to defend against it.
So let's sort of talk about, you've got a quad and you're going to go on a quad run. How do you play that?
Well, first thing to think about is, after you've taken quad, is Mega going to be up in the next 5 or 6, maybe 10 seconds? If it is, go for that. If it's not, well, is the yellow going to be up? If so, you go for that. If neither are going to be up, or if you feel that you've killed the other team so badly on your quad defense that they can't possibly have a red setup, then don't even think about either of those items. Just take quad, straight in.
Let's remember,
on the attack.
Even if your primary objective is to hold the yellow and mega side of the map, which is, we will come to that, how you might do that, even if that is your primary objective, still, on a power-up run, you want to displace them from their primary objective, which could be holding the red armor. So you need to get into that red room, take control of it, and actually hold it for as long as you can, to take away their advantage and their understanding of how the map's playing. So that's your primary goal with this quad run, is to get in the red room and get control of it. Now, to do that, you would want armor, so as you say, if the yellow's going to be up, you want to get the yellow. Ideally, you probably want the plasma, because that's a good route to come from as well, especially if you're coming through into the red room. The plasma route, you just drop down the stairs and you dive into the room. It's a lot quicker than, say, this corridor is quite dangerous through the middle, and the other way is a large lead, the little corridor on the rocket launcher room. They have more warning about when you're coming through that route than they would on the plasma side. So
now, of course, in Quake Live, there's going to be a warning on any approach, because you have to remember, I should have let you free cam the red room. You'd have been able to see me. I can imagine you'd probably be able to see me here with the glow. You'd definitely see me here with the glow from like around here, and it'd be the same on this side as well. Someone would see the glow probably about here. Then obviously definitely as you're coming in the room. You always have to be wary of the glow with the power-up in Quake Live.
So let's say they've got a setup in the room and you've got quad. What you need to always be aware of, again, it's just like the normal cess play. You might all have weapons this time, but remember, the quad can't go in first because he's going to take all the damage. You need a coordinated attack, all of you, from different angles. You need to move in at the same time, and the quad coming in last, taking the damage last.
And obviously, one thing to think about as well is, when there's a quad up, you are a lot safer when you're coming in first if you're not the quad. Because typically with a railer as well, if the railer is expecting the quad to come in, you know, the first person in through this doorway, maybe it isn't the quad. Maybe the quad is right behind it, and the guy with the rail has a feeling that might be the case. He might not shoot the first person who comes through, and he might do that on purpose. He just might leave them and wait for the quad to come in. So, you know, you guys are coming in from potentially 3 angles, and the quad hasn't come in. You know, you might actually take a lot less damage than you expect, because the rest of the team that might be in here already, they're not going to be looking to shoot you. They're waiting for that quad to appear. Now, they don't want to fire at you and then the quad comes around and kills them straight away. Now, that obviously isn't always the case. You know, they're going to probably shoot you as well as the quad, but no, in the minds of the people in here defending, they are just waiting for that quad to appear.
With the quad damage as well, you need to think as a quad player. If a player's going in ahead of me, that's all well and good, but if I just follow him straight away, that's not causing as much trouble as if I just delay it like 3 seconds moving into the room. That railer that's delayed his shot, he's going to start thinking, oh god, I'm going to have to shoot this other guy now because the quad's not come in. Oh god, I'm in 2 minds. As soon as he shoots that shot, you can just dive in the room. You've got a massive advantage then. But obviously the quad, the kind of run you want to make is straight up towards the red end, clear that out, make sure you get the red lock down. Then you probably want to head, well, as long as there's no one coming in the side doorways, just straight back to the quad area. There's the most spawns there, and you can clear that out. That stops any kind of threat of anybody coming back in through that doorway, which means your teammates just need to watch the 2 other doorways as they hold the red. And then I would ideally say you either go to Mega. It depends on the times of the items, obviously, but if you can go, you want to make your way back to red, but then you would just choose one of those routes to run back between. Obviously, it depends how much time you've got left on the quad, etc. There's so many variables.
This is where 9 item times comes into play, because you know you're keeping track of the mega time. You know, you've come back here from red, cleared out the spawners. You know, anyone who might be coming through this doorway or that doorway thinking they can't come to red. So people often just think. People don't often sit still and do absolutely nothing, so if they spawned at Mega, they might come through this doorway. If they spawned at Yellow, they might take that.
Yeah, you can pick up a lot of kills with quad in that.
By the way, go free cam and see if you can see me on the corners.
Okay, so I would be standing at the rail position now. If I can see you. Well, let me just go down a bit. I can see you. Yeah, I can see you. Glowing there, yeah. I can see the glow through the wall.
So you really have to be aware when you're with the quad that you need to be kind of decisive, or you need to be back here. You can't be like here waiting to go in. Where you'd think I'm standing here to give myself the shortest amount of time to get into the room. Well, no, you might actually want to be back here because otherwise they're going to know where you're coming from.
So yeah. Quad, always think about, same as every TDM map, think about the key objectives and think about the routes you take in order to add secondary objectives towards that, as well as picking up frags en route. Now, say they've got the quad vor, you don't know where they're coming in. Often this is a good route to take, actually, take the yellow armor side, because if the quad is going to attack, if they're not covering it properly, they won't know you're coming from there, and you do have a bit more time to set up and get ready to go in. But say you're defending against the quad, what are the kind of options we're looking at here? You might have a lot of weapons. So
well, this is obviously in a situation where you haven't, for example, all gone to quad and died and lost out on quad. This is where maybe you've decided not to actually go to quad at all. So it's kind of a reverse quad setup. You'd want someone here identifying whether or not the quad is going to come from there.
I'll tell you what, as well, Vor, just on this point. You see the quad so early there, and if he sees you, especially if you've got a rail, say you hit him with a rail, that guy, that half his run is ruined. Because he's taken that route, he's wasted the time. He can't realistically attack you in that position. He's going to have to back off and go another route. So that is so key,
and if
that
he backs
position.
off from... If you hit him with a rail there, you know if he has backed off, you know, he might actually try and fake. Just go around the corners, maybe hold in there for a sec, and then he might come back round again. But if he does actually back off, you can be reasonably sure he's going to come through here, because going all the way around to the Mega, that's going to add on another 3 or 4 seconds from what it would take to come through here. You know, they've got to think about the time. You know, time it takes to get
with the quad.
Time it takes to get there after maybe it wasn't a totally clean quad pickup, although it probably was if you didn't challenge it. But maybe you had a railer, I don't know, or something, just shooting from the middle. If he comes to here, that's 3 seconds or so from a clean
Probably
pickup.
longer.
Yeah, probably longer. If he backs off and goes to this doorway, that's another 5 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's a third of the quad run used
If
up
he wants
already.
to go, instead of going middle doorway, he wants to go to
Another
Mega
5.
doorway instead. Well, I would add on maybe 4 from going from middle to there.
I think what you find though is that the little bit of delay in deciding, maybe I shouldn't go this route and that route, it's another second here, another second there. You're suddenly eating away at the power-up times.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, rather than all just stand at the back here and think you're in some sort of firing squad executing a prisoner, you know, if you all stood here, it's the same thing I talked about earlier with the quad setup. If you're all stood back here, you've got no information. The quad is just going to suddenly, from your perspective, appear. And maybe you're amazing and you hit that shot on the stairway or something, I don't know, but you know, without relying on shots like that, all that's going to happen stood back here is that the quad's going to appear and you're going to be in trouble. Maybe there's a wall of plasma coming towards you, and you know, quad plasma hits for 60 per hit. You don't want to get hit by something like that, so you want the information that comes from positioning yourself further out. So the guy here, now this would be the riskiest position, but if you actually didn't go to quad, you could actually send someone here to try and rail it, but you know, you're going to try and rail it, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you're going to know straight away, oh shit, he's pushing the middle corridor, everyone get ready to shoot the middle corridor. And then the other way, of course, is here. Again, this is slightly risky because the tightness of the doorway, maybe he'll come around the corner and shoot you instantly, but you know, at least you're going to know, and then you can just back straight off. Now, if you don't have those people in those positions, it is just a guessing game, and you're waiting there, wondering where the quad's going to come from.
And you basically have to hit 100% all of your
Yeah,
players.
that's where you've got to hope you've got a team full of amazing railers.
A team full of 4 juveniles.
Yep. Throw Zyrinx in there as well, but still.
Silent Sep.
Yeah.
Players that are going to not miss their shots. That's what you need in that position, and generally teams don't have
Because let's
that.
be
Even the
honest.
best players miss shots, so you're not playing the percentages there. You're playing for some kind of amazing, you know, hit every shot defense and lucking it out. On top of that, you should actually be playing for thinking about backing off. So, say you know they're coming from Mega, it might be worth your players being ready to 1, drop off to go through the telly, and 2, you might even have 2 players start backing off towards the yellow corridor straight away, because depending on what weapons armor you have and what you might approximate they have, it might be too risky to try and properly defend this room. It might be better to save your weapons.
Presumably you know the time on red if you've been sat here and decided not to go the quad, but you know, I said one person like here looking for there, but I wouldn't expect anyone to want to be stood out in the open unless red is literally coming up as the quad's going to be making his way in. You don't want to really be in this position. You want to be somewhere like this. Even if you're not that guy looking that way. It's a lot safer to be here than it is to be here, even though it gives you a better shot. Because I mean, the thing is, if quad's not coming from here, you've still got a good shot of this doorway and that doorway from here. It's almost as good as from here, but it's a lot safer.
So, yeah, I think we just need to then talk about a discussion on... I mean, you can't go into every single detail of how every quad attack might happen or every defensive quad or whatever, but this is kind of overview of what you might be able to do. If we talk about...
Yeah, but a lot of what we're saying, I mean, it applies. I mean, obviously we can't cover every scenario, but we can try and give you some indication of what the thought process should be for how you know, prepare for and deal with all sorts of different attacks. I mean, if you've got the people in position to get the information on where the quad's going, then it doesn't matter what variation they try. As long as your people are in position and survive, then you should be ready to deal with it, whatever they try.
I think we should just go over then how you might play the yellow armor mega side of the map.
Now, obviously, no, it is viable to play yellows and megas. Now, obviously, if I stand here, you have to think the distance between the yellow and the mega somewhere over there, through God knows how many walls, it's quite a gap. Now, it's more so than, say, a gap like, you know, mega and yellow on Dreadful Place, which, you know, that's viable as well, and it's hard to play because the coordination needed to protect both items. Because, I mean, what do you do? Do you split 2 to the yellow, 2 to the mega? Well, you're vulnerable at the mega to, say, a 3-man attack or even a 2-man attack, because you attack the mega from red. While the people at mega do have a slight position advantage, you've got a hell of a stack advantage. You've got that red armor. You've got potentially a plasma or
surprise attack through the teleporter,
or any other drop weapons. Yeah, or a surprise attack through the teleporter. I mean, it's how do you cover both of these items and counter attacks from what is technically a stronger opponent?
It's a very difficult split as well, because obviously even if you commit a lot of people to mega and to yellow, you're leaving a gap in the quad area for them to get in behind you, and then you're in serious trouble.
Because if you think about it, you've got 4 people to use, but the map is in totally 2 different halves. And also, you need to think about things like, well, the guy with the mega, with just a mega he's not that strong, but if he has a yellow he's even stronger. So take the mega and then you leave the mega, obviously, and then the guy left there doesn't have, maybe he doesn't have a weapon, he just certainly doesn't have a mega because you've already taken it. So you have to worry about leaving weak players guarding positions. I mean, say you have someone here, I mean, this would be a nice position for sure to defending the yellow and mega side of the map, but you're one player blocking one route. You've got to have someone actually here in case you get any kills, because, you know, you don't want to pick up a kill, have nobody in that area, and then a guy spawns on the yellow. So someone actually needs to be around here ready to pick it up, and also in some ways to, you know, make sure a guy doesn't spawn there and then just camp up there ready to take it. You really run low on players and how to position them.
It takes immense coordination playing this side of the map. It takes precise timing of that yellow as well, and using the right weapons. If you get a railgun, for example, you pretty much need to take it to the yellow side, rocket launch a doorway through to red, and start railing in at red. That's how you need to use that railgun. You need to pressure the red side of the map still, even if you're holding the yellow. You know that most of the combat's going to come towards the mega side, and you need to move rocket launchers to there. Now, the rocket's at the wrong side of the map for the mega, so that's again another difficult...
Yeah, this is certainly where all the difficulty comes in, because it only takes 1 or 2 kills from the team playing red to totally break your setup. I mean, if they come into mega, obviously they can either come from the staircase or the teleporter. I mean, if they pick up, say, 1 kill of a guy who was over here with the rocket launcher waiting for mega, or defending the mega room with his rocket launcher, then all of a sudden you need to then work a situation again where you have a rocket over here. Obviously you can say it's just as simple as a guy with a rocket running over. Well, yeah, it is, but as soon as he runs over, then that opens up gaps elsewhere. And this is why this side of the map is so difficult to play with this layout. Now, obviously with the old layout where the rail was in there, it was a lot easier, because you'd have a reliable, you know, weapon to pick up, shoot from the middle corridor, shoot from either of the other sides that lead into red, and, you know, you could get some hits with rail these areas, you know. But with the rail gone now, it's a lot harder for you to put damage onto the red, because you need to keep pressure on them in some way, but with this new layout it's very difficult. You're almost relying on your power-up play if you play this side of the map with this layout.
When you get yellow armors, you need to make sure you're not losing that armor, because you're going to be outstacked in terms of armor anyway.
Yeah, the best you can hope for is obviously the yellow armor each time exactly on the right time, and then these 4 shards, so that's 70 armor.
There's a couple of shards up at rocket launcher as well, though it's kind of off
Oh
route.
yes, there's 2, isn't there? I think.
Yeah. But basically, if you can get somebody with, say, that whole armor stack, then they need to survive that armor. And they need to not bother getting any more armor, just survive that out, 70 whatever armor it is, and be ready for the power-up then. They could hold the yellow side, get the rail to the yellow side, and if you have a person over there with armor, he's protecting it, he's got, say, a rocket launcher and a rail, and he's shooting a couple of rails, he's not going too risky at red, he's just making them have to think about that doorway, if anything, so they can't commit everybody to the mega, then that's going to help you secure one side of the map, and then you can focus on the mega. You need to keep somebody else getting those yellows, and they do need to use some of them to secure the mega, but the mega room is the most difficult room to play of all, because it's so easy to dive on it through the teleporter. There's so many ambush points if you're coming through the teleporter, etc. So the mega is sort of the key spot on the map in how you can win or lose a game in the way you play it.
The thing you're going to find is if you try and play this way, let's say you've got people getting the yellow, the rocket launcher, and then you've got the mega over there with 2 people, you're so vulnerable to someone pushing through here. You know, they can just pretty much walk in, and if you've been playing yellow and mega all game, they're going to know that you're not hanging around this area so much, because what is there other than a plasma gun and some shards? It's a fairly easy way in, so you've got to be so concerned about people just coming in from red as they want.
What you're playing for, if you're playing this side of the map, is the key frags at the mega ambush. You don't...
Yeah.
I mean, ideally you want to get the mega, but it's actually almost more important to make sure you're dealing out more damage and getting more kills in the cycle of those mega attacks than your opponent is, because that's where the combat's going to happen before the power-ups, through, you know, when it's not in power-up play or power-up setup or defense, etc. It's going to be around the mega. That's when you need to make your ambushes, and that's when you need to make your frags and not lose out on them.
If you're going to play this way, it can't be stressed how important it is not to just throw away kills randomly, because if you're playing this way, the game should be extremely low scoring.
Yeah.
But it's hard to keep it that way if you just throw away kills every now and then, because there is a pressure on the red team, if you're playing this way, for them to actually try and, you know, push out as well and do some damage. I mean, it's not just about you doing damage. I mean, if you're not setting into red, it will actually worry a lot of teams to some extent, because if you've done it correctly, they should only have plasma guns and rail guns. Now, obviously, plasma gun is not a terrible pushing weapon, but railgun, you have to be honest, 90% of the time, is not a weapon you actually want to push into an area with. I mean, if a guy is coming here with 100 armor, attacking quad, and he only has railgun, then all he can do is sit back. Can't really push into here, because he can expect for you to be shooting him from the sides. It's the same with attacking the mega. If we take this route from red into a mega that's being held, if you only have rail, your tendency would be to just sit here. They're going to be worried about pushing round here, because, you know, there could be someone waiting to counter here with a shotgun or a rocket, ideally. And all of a sudden, having that red isn't so much of an advantage, because they only have rails and plasmas to work with. So you have to be so careful not to give away frags and lose out on those weapons that they don't have access to, because it's the same this side as well. You come around here with the rail, it's slightly better than going into the mega. You can make shots here, you can push out further and hit the yellow. But they really need those rocket launchers and shotguns to make their reds even more effective. So if you don't give away the weapons, then mega in yellow isn't that bad.
This is the key point, especially on... I mean, it's the same with every map, but especially this map is weapons. Weapon control and not giving away key weapons. If you run into the red room and you've got a rail and you die and drop the rail, they've then got a full rail clip. They might just be a fresh spawner as well. They're going to hit one shot, they're going to hit 2 shots, you know. That's already 80 damage a hit. talking about serious damage, you've given them the weapons, especially if you're playing this yellow side, as Vor says, it's even more important not to give away the key weapons that they can't get without pushing out. They can't get a rocket launcher unless they go to rocket launcher or kill you with it. And
and pushing into those areas with just a rail, maybe a plasma gun, it's hard. It's not easy at all.
So I think, like, in summary, this map, it has a very key focus style to it, generally played as a very aggressive map, although it could be played as a ridiculously defensive map.
I mean, if you want to see examples, I mean, I know many people probably don't have Quake 3 anymore, but if you have Quake 3, go and download demos on this map from, say, 2000 era, not much further forward in time than that, and you will see how defensive this map could be at times, because, you could have games where neither team gets 100 frags on this map. It would be as defensive as DM14 if neither team was going to cess red, and cessing red wasn't very common back then. In fact, I don't think it was really seen until more like 2 or 3 years after that era.
And in the same regard, you could get 300 frag games.
Yeah, I mean, I've played in games where I think where we were still newish to TDM, and maybe we lost 400 to 250 or so.
Yeah, pretty incredible kind of scoreline. So it's a interesting map in that regard. It's quite a simplistic layout, so it's quite easy to learn. There's a lot of thought process going on in about setting up for power-ups and the different formations and routes you take in terms of doing that. It puts a lot more focus on them than I think other maps do. Other maps are a lot more complex, geometry, etc. Take away a little bit of the focus of the power-up plays, etc. So this is a really good, simple map in that regard, of creating very clear tactical plays that are really good for streaming. I know that this map, some people don't like it because they see it as a very aim-heavy map, and the focus on the technical skill set is higher, perhaps, and perhaps I agree with that, than other maps. But it does have a very strong focus on the tactical play still, which I find really interesting. Yeah, so I think that sort of finishes off our discussion of it. Now, because we're doing this live, we can always ask people on IRC if they have any questions. So anybody watching this, if you have any questions now, it's probably the best time to say it before we finish the VOD. Go offline. Probably will do other videos of other maps like this. Sort of plan to do a bit more better editing on map overviews and stuff like that, but I thought we'd just get on with it.
This wasn't planned in any way, so the order in which we went over things was just totally off the cuff. I mean, not planned at all.
Okay, why a DM7 guide? Well, we're just doing DM7 because it's in the map vote at the moment. It's an old map that we know a lot about.
Why didn't someone ask you specifically?
And yeah, Lamb specifically asked me to do a video explaining how we might play it tactically, etc. So we did get a request specifically for this map. Now,
so if anyone wants to request another map, maybe we'll do that map.
We're happy to do. In fact, we're happy to do all the maps. Now,
well, we'll probably do them all eventually, won't we? Just out of boredom.
This map is also quite easy to explain in a way, because as I said, I see it as almost a flat 2D pane similar to a CTF map.
Yeah, this is a very basic to explain map, I think, as well. It's just there aren't that many different ways to play it. There's 2 ways to play it, really. There's a lot of subtleties in what you do playing those 2 different ways, which we can't really cover in any reasonable amount of time, but I think we've sort of gone over the 2 basic ways to play this map, and really the only 2 ways to play it.
Yeah, and especially because traditionally we as a team, as individual players, me and Vor, etc. When we played as a team, we played for UK and stuff. Our best maps were always this map. They were Grim Dungeons, Hidden Fortress. So we know about those maps best. So they're probably going to be the maps that we would highlight tactically first and foremost, above maps like maybe Deep Inside, etc.
But even though we know how to play them, we just don't do it.
Yeah, maybe we should watch our own videos. So yeah, if that's the only question we've got from IRC, okay, the suggestions I'd like to see some prac games with comms. I'll be honest, while I think comms can be interesting sometimes, Quake Live is completely dominated in comms by people just calling out item times, and generally
There's very little in terms of planning or on-the-fly strategy discussion, from what I can tell from a lot of teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we sort of focused a bit more on, was discussing strat in the game. But even us, I mean, I don't think we discuss it that much, because you should go into a match knowing what kind of plans you have already in place. So it should be very simple calls like, you get the last red or whatever, I'll be quad carrier. You know, simple calls like that. So it can be some interest to it, but generally it's just like red 25, red 50, mega 50, you know, whatever. Just making those calls. And is it that interesting? I don't think it is, but
The only
it might be
interest
worth
would
a
be
try.
like comms where I'm like calling the other team cheaters or
Which is pretty much every
raging
time
at
we play.
someone. Yeah.
It does make understanding the way teams are thinking at the time easier, maybe. What's going through their thought process. Yeah, FRS, yeah. Probably. I don't know.
So
Maybe we
I'm
should
really-
go. Maybe we should go back and look at previous results of our team against yours and see who's the one lacking. But anyway, so I'm going to call an end to this first VOD about a map that we just decided to dive on and do. Retribution Solution, I've called it, and I'll put it up on YouTube soon. Now, everybody, please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube /LevelUpTV. Visit our Facebook and like it. That's what you have to do. Like it /LevelUpTV, and follow us on Twitter /LevelUpTV. So do all those. You'll know when our streams are live, etc. We need to sort of build those out, increase them, get more Quake viewers, etc. So please do that. If you enjoyed the VOD, please comment back things how we can change it. Obviously, we know there could be a lot more production quality involved, editing,
Yeah, like
etc.
something I'd do is I'd try and find examples of like games from the past on this or any other map we try and do these videos for, and just link them in the comments. Because there's hundreds of demos that you could watch to learn this map. You know, whether or not it's just a single player's POV or multiple POVs. There's a lot to learn from Quake 3 demos of how to play this map, even if some things do change the game significantly, like 100 rail damage was quite significant on this map, obviously. So was 5 machine gun damage. But, you know, most of the basics are still there. Particularly the movement of, you know, certain players. Like mentioned earlier, you would see often a player take the red, attack the mega, take the mega down here, and then in the back of all the people who were looking to come into red, I mean, you've got a lot of traffic in an area like this of seeing people just run blindly into the red armor room, and then you're in the back with plasma.
There's a lot of things. Obviously, we haven't really talked about exact positioning of like where you should stand exactly.
Yeah, but we
etc.
don't
like
want to
that.
exactly make a 5-hour video at the same time, do we?
Even though I think this is going that way anyway. Alright, I'm
Is
going to
it?
end the VOD
God damn
anyway.
it.
So thanks for joining us, guys, at Level Up TV. LevelUpYourGame.net. Disrepute and vor. Signing off.